Hello, welcome back to our channel EQ Nexus. Today, Heidi and I are going to be debriefing with a really interesting theme that's come up recently in with our clients and comments through our socials. And it's this idea about, can you speak your truth unapologetically, and still be emotionally intelligent? There's this idea of, I want to be my authentic self and I want to be honest and I need to tell people where things are at and how they're behaving. Can I do that whilst being emotionally intelligent? Or does it feel fake? If I'm trying to be fake in using my emotional intelligence skills, therefore, am I not being my true self? There's this, we've noticed this theme, haven't we, come up in a couple of our sessions that we've run, and people asking this kind of question. I think it's a really good question to break down, because a bit of it is about the myths behind what is even EQ, which gets in the way of this question, and probably a little bit about values and understanding that emotional intelligence is also knowing others, which I think we forget a little bit. We focus a lot on understanding ourselves, but that's one part of the emotional intelligence framework. So Heidi, can you kick us off with that question? If I was to come to you and say, Heidi, I want to tell someone that they're not being kind, I don't like what they're doing, I'm just going to tell them because that's my authentic self. They need to know that part of who I am is I'm honest and I'm a bit abrupt, but that's how it's going to be.
I think I'm thinking of a few people in my world that tend to do this and kind of wear it almost like a badge of honor, that they're strong enough to be able to put people back in their box or stand strong to their values. And I've witnessed this happen, but also where it falls into that pattern of hurting other people. So their strength and their determination to stick up for whatever they believe in has resulted in hurting other people. And I think that's an important element, because emotional intelligence is about, as you've just said, navigating your own emotions, but also being aware of the emotions of other people. So if we are truly being emotionally intelligent, the way that we act within the world around the people that we care about, it means that we are also valuing what they value as well.
Yes.
Does that make sense?
It does, absolutely. And I think a bit of it that I want to ask you a bit more is then, if I'm forced to practice emotional intelligence skills every day, if I feel like I'm showing up and I've got to do my EQ practices, but then I feel like I'm not being true to myself, how do I support that? How do I balance that if I feel like I'm not being me, because being me is being really honest and abrupt?
I think that's a really tricky question. Because I feel like there'd be a lot of underlying things that might be causing that person to behave in that certain way. So I think that's a deeper level thing. And I think you and I have talked so much about that crossover between psychology and emotional intelligence. And in our practice as emotional intelligence practitioners, we don't delve deeply into people's histories and what makes them behave in the way that they are. But what we do know is that our family and all of the experiences that we've had in our life do shape the way we experience emotion. And emotion drives people. Emotion drives behavior. So there's probably some things that would be sitting behind that for those people. And I can think of a particular friend of mine who does do this, and she has unpacked with me why she does that.
Wow. Okay.
So really, she doesn't want to be that way. Yes, it is something that she wants to be strong, but she doesn't want to be hurtful. So I would question that if people are going around hurting other people, there's probably not too many people out there that are interested in emotional intelligence that want to go around hurting other people.
Absolutely.
So I think that that's an important thing to consider and think about when you'd be talking to somebody. And if I was coaching someone around emotional intelligence, I'd be saying, well, who do you want to be, and what is the legacy that you want to leave behind? And I don't think there'd be very many people that would say, well, I want to be known as someone that's mean. Just because I'm strong and I can stand up.
Because that's how it comes across, isn't it? When you behave in that way of going, well, I'm letting someone know my boundary, I'm telling them the truth for their sake. We may have this perception of I think I'm doing the right thing, but it's actually coming across as quite mean behavior and it doesn't sit well or land well with the other person. And like we were saying, that's that big step of emotional intelligence or big skill is knowing others.
Yeah.
Knowing others' emotional response to our behavior or our communication pathway.
Yeah.
So how do we speak our truth and do it with an emotional intelligence lens on if we feel, because there is this idea of, you know, holding a boundary with others. I might just say here that the big myth that I think gets in the way is that EQ is about being nice and kind all the time, because we know that that's not true.
No.
It often is a byproduct of engaging in emotional intelligence practices where we behave in ways that seem kind and nice and friendly, which is great, but that's not the core of EQ, is it?
No.
We don't go around thinking we have to be happy, kind, joyful,
calm.
Yeah, that is a complete myth. And I think that's what's getting in the way with these questions at times. People think that, you know, I'm not being myself because I have to be kind all the time. So how do I be truthful? How do I speak and hold a boundary with our EQ practices? What are some tips that we could share, and have you got any experiences there?
When you're talking, I'm thinking about setting boundaries, and I feel as though that's separate to being unkind. I feel like you can set boundaries in a kind way.
Yes.
I love the way Brene Brown talks about clear is kind.
Best quote ever.
Yeah.
Literally the best quote ever.
Awesome.
Yeah.
So, for example, if you said to me that you wanted to start tomorrow at 7:30 in the morning, we're meeting again tomorrow, and that wasn't suitable for me, I can say to you, Cass, that doesn't work for me. I've got to get up and get my boys breakfast. I've got to connect with my husband before I come to work. That's setting a boundary. But turning around and saying to you, oh my gosh, why would you expect, or what right do you have to think that I'm going to get up just because that suits you, even though that doesn't suit me? There's no need to be rude about that. So that's like a micro example on a day-to-day level around setting a boundary, but doing it in a way that's respectful and kind. And like I said before, honoring the people that are around you. But then that next level is, if I did, let's just say I'm sitting high on the emotional escalator and I snap at you. You're my friend and we are also in business together. So I'm pretty comfortable. You're almost like family. So you probably see more of my rawness than 90% of people. And when you get close to people, then they might see that side of you. But the important part of that is repair.
Right.
And when I think about that, I think about our kids.
Yes.
And I am not always emotionally intelligent when it comes to parenting. And my, triggers of teenage boys.
It's huge.
But going back and repairing, because being emotionally intelligent is about recognizing when we've hurt someone else. And going back, it's not to say you're not emotionally intelligent if you ever hurt someone. Of course, you're going to hurt people along the way, but it's about going back and repairing that and honoring the people in your world, even if you don't agree.
Absolutely, even if you don't agree. Yeah, absolutely. And I love that, because it was the point that I wanted to make really clear, that EQ shows up just as much in the repair as it does in the moment. Yeah. So we might fail in the moment because of so many other reasons, and we might snap, or we might come across in ways that aren't aligning with our values or aren't respecting yours. And I can use my emotional intelligence skills in the repair after the fact. Yeah. And I think that's where that next layer of emotional intelligence keeps extending beyond the moment. Yes. Yeah. I think too, an important thing is I was reading, I might have even been Mark Brackett's book. Yeah, one. Yeah, and I think it was him, and he said, you always breathe before you speak. So when you're feeling like you're about to speak that truth, and oftentimes if it's done in a way that's showing your strength and your power, it might be something that's emotional, that's triggering some kind of more intense emotion. And so it comes across in a way that's strong, but can also be perceived as abrupt by others, that breathing and pausing before you speak and assuming the most generous interpretation from other people. Yes. So assuming that whatever it is you're conflicting about, that other person has the most generous interpretation as well, can sometimes
soothe you and make you pause and stop and respond in a more regulated way.
And when we say the most generous interpretation, what do you mean by that? Are we really trying to use, I feel like when I do that, I'm really trying to use my empathy skills.
Yeah,
and
sure.
kind of going, if I was in their shoes, what is the most generous, most kind way of interpreting their behavior or their thoughts or their actions? And is that how you use that?
Yeah, and assuming positive intent. Like if I think about it in a work environment, being an educational leader, when someone comes to me and they come with something that maybe conflicts with my values a little bit, rather than assuming that that's an attack or assuming the worst intent from them, I always try to assume the most positive intent. So why are they doing this? Probably because they're passionate about the kids that they teach, or maybe it's that it's crossing a value and I'm asking too much of their time, which is then a value that they want to go home and spend that time with their family or exercising or whatever it happens to be. Assuming that that person that there might be that boundary with or that conflict with or that tension with has the most positive intent.
Yeah. Awesome. I think that's important, because I think when we want to speak our truth, it's often because, like you say, that our values have been really pushed, isn't it? That's when we seem to respond with the most intensity of our emotions, and we feel like, no, this person needs to know what's happened here. So I think that's a really good skill.
I heard you do it earlier today.
Yes, I was on the phone. And we could go into detail about this experience, but we won't name and shame at the moment.
No.
But we constantly are using our own emotional intelligence skills. And Heidi walked in whilst on the phone in a very heated, emotionally invigorating conversation.
But I actually saw you and witnessed you stop and breathe and pause before you spoke to the person on the phone.
Yes, thank you for witnessing that.
Yeah, it was awesome. It was I could have filmed it as a snapshot of
You probably could have.
an emotionally intelligent response.
Yes, I was very fueled. How do we want to end this, do you think? Are we summarizing now just those first little pointers around the idea of busting the myth that emotional intelligence isn't about being kind and isn't always about, being nice and kind and friendly, that it's okay to instill a boundary, and we can do that with emotional intelligence skills and practices, and that emotional intelligence shows up in the repair as much as it does in the moment.
Yeah. And remembering that emotional intelligence is around being aware of yourself and your emotions, but also the way you impact the emotions of others. So if you're responding in a way that is impacting the emotions of others negatively, that's going to happen from time to time. And at times that can be totally okay, but you need to be mindful of it. You can't walk around this world with the attitude that stuff it, I don't care about anybody else because this is what I believe, and this because that's going to impact your relationships. That's going to impact the way you feel about yourself. And I do see sometimes that people can put that mask on.
Absolutely.
I'm this tough person, but that's just not the way we're programmed. We're not programmed to be okay with that. So we might get a lot of flack.
We might.
And some comments around this. There'll be people that don't agree, but the essence of emotional intelligence is to be aware of yourself and other people.
Absolutely. So thanks for listening. We look forward to sharing more conversations on our YouTube channel. If you have any requests or any topics that are of interest to you, because pretty much we're willing to go anywhere with these chats. And subscribe, let us know, and we look forward to seeing you later.
Bye.